This video will explore the creation of a narrative project that we worked on a couple years ago called Dustgod. We filmed the entire project, but we've only released one episode on YouTube, and that's likely all we're gonna do. The reason for this is that we're shopping the idea around as part of a cinematic universe, so I can't talk about everything in the behind the scenes, but I can talk about most of episode 1. So sit back with a cup of joe and enjoy the ride. Crafting a story, the genesis. How did you get the idea to do this specific thing? Dustgod definitely came about in a very strange way. Rather than starting with characters or a sequence of events, I started with a place. Most people, when they think of Oregon, likely assume big green trees, amazing coastline, and jaw-dropping mountains. And they would be right. Oregon is a very diverse state. But in the middle of that is a thin slice of land called the Willamette Valley. It's flat, it's fairly boring, and it's occupied by mostly farmers. This is where I grew up and have spent most of my life. There's a little stretch of time in about late August when forest fires kick up in Central Oregon and down in California, where smoke and smog settle in this valley, and the temperatures get up in the hundreds. The late summer feeling in the Willamette Valley in Oregon is unique. This setting spawned the idea for Dustgod. And from that came the next form of inspiration, characters.
Go. Your Mad Dog 2020.
Yeah. Oh my god. That guy. Do I have the hat backwards? Or?
Yeah, it's just like it's the exact outfit you're wearing. And I use the flash too.
Okay.
And a cigarette. So we have our setting, and then we at least have the look of the characters. So we went out into our setting with our characters in costume, and we spent a day filming tests. Now, I'm a pretty visual person, but I think I'm most inspired by the combination of visuals plus music. So it wasn't until I took the footage from this test day, back to my computer, slapped some music onto it, and started playing back and editing together a little sequence, that it clicked. Now this is a cheesy ass recreation of something clicking, but it can start with something as simple as, I like this spot. And within about 3 or 4 hours, I had written the script. Then it came time for actual production. I want to talk a little bit about the cinematography of episode 1 of Dustgod and a few shots in particular. Specifically, this opening scene with Puke and Mute standing in the field below the power lines. This kind of marks the first time that I've really paid attention to cinematography and how it relates to the story. A lot of times in the past, I would move the camera or I would do whatever looked the most visually pleasing. That would be my cinematography choice in the past. And with this, it was as simple as just tilting the camera up and placing these characters in the lower third as often as realistically possible. These characters are at the bottom, right? They're lower class. Beyond that, they are underneath these power lines. That is a location choice, but one that also helps tell the story. They are under the foot of more powerful beings in their world. Not just Jed Hernandez, it's a microcosm for America, capitalism, and these characters themselves. And then you'll notice that this is a very centered, symmetrical shot, but with everything just slightly nudged to the right. This is important because, in a way, for me, Puke and Mute represent the right side of the political spectrum. A lot of what I wanted to do with Dustgod is represent an area, represent the Willamette Valley in Oregon, which I'm passionate about, which I grew up in, but also the people, farmers, and everybody that I've known growing up here. The past 4 years, the media has done a great job at painting right-leaning people that live in the country as these terrible people, overtly racist, overtly sexist. If you've ever spent any time outside of a major city, you'll know that's not true. You'll know that most people that are right-leaning are generally some of the nicest people you will come into contact with. I wanted Puke and Mute to embody that. Having them lean a little bit right fits more thematically. There's one more shot I want to talk about. It could start to get into spoilers, but I'm okay with that. In the opening sequence, the aerials of Jed Hernandez driving his truck. So this is a top-down view. This is a big theme that I wanted to explore with Dustgod is there's a power over Jed as well, right? It's an unseen power. In this case, it's a higher power, and that higher power is overseeing all of these events. So I wanted the whole opening sequence to be from that perspective. Jed Hernandez driving his truck from a grassy patch to a dusty patch is very, very foreboding as far as what happens in the rest of the series. The idea that he's coming from his lush, kind of nicely manicured, well-watered land to this dusty kind of just wasteland that he's selling to these two guys that are just trying to find their way. That's the story. That's one of the major tenets of the story that I wanted to explore. And for this specific shot, this opening montage, it was this truck slowly rumbling along this country road. Speaking of this truck, I called around to just see about renting an old beat up truck. There's a lot of restrictions. I started to look on Craigslist for just buying a truck. And I found this thing for $1,000.
And the truck has officially died right in the road.
The guy with the truck, probably a Trump supporter that we all make fun of, stops Trump set.
There's the hand is.
I don't even see the battery.
I don't either. Is this
These
where
new
this
cars,
goes?
you know.
Here?
Running out of gas. Darn.
We had it the entire time over the course of like 2 months, and then at the end of production, we ended up selling it for $1,000. Free production truck. Bonus, it also helped us carry all the materials to build the set.
Get her in, Dad.
We live in the backcountry of Oregon. There's no studios here with lots to build sets or production spaces. So I looked at storage sheds for farming. We found this place that had a big open space. It wasn't the cleanest in the world, but we didn't need it to be. We were building a dirty set. This place was about $350 a month.
Done. Just use your hand.
Use your teeth, actually.
My friend Ben, who only the most loyal of you will know from Tree Man, our first short films on our old channel, came along and helped build the frame.
Nicely done.
We basically just built the back wall and put a window into it, so this was an open face set.
Dude, look at that. That's pretty good.
If it looked janky, it was fine. And that lended itself well to our absolute lack of knowledge in building sets.
I wish my old house had walls this straight.
Dressing the set. This is where we really added little details. We picked out the dirtiest, rattiest couch we could find, the cheesiest wallpaper, and then we just dirtied it up. We made a disgusting mixture of rainwater runoff and coffee. Put it into a spray bottle and just doused the entire back wall. Super greasy. Aperture 300D outside of the window to mimic moonlight. And then an aperture 120T for that kind of blue-orange contrast was sometimes put in the foreground, but we really just ended up relying on an Edison bulb practical in the lamp for that orange glow.
Something that acts as a blankie? Do you have one?
All right, God. I'm ready to believe. But are you?
So that pretty much wraps up everything I'd like to discuss about episode 1. I encourage you to watch episode 1 if you haven't already, and hopefully at some point in the near future, you will get to see it in its entirety. Thank you so much for your time. If you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe, and click the notification bell. I'm Luke Neumann with Neumann Films, and thank you for watching.